Irony of ironies, but here's the content warning for the content warning video because you will be hearing and seeing a lot of my most uncomfortable work. I talk about and show the graphic nature of my work, and that includes, but not limited to, depression, anxiety, violence against women, me screaming, animal death and abuse, domestic violence, suicidal depiction, blood and gore. If you still want to hear what I have to say, but not see this, your best option is to just tab out and listen. Alright, that's the most detailed warning you'll get from me, because it would have been really stupid of me to not include this. Hi guys, it's Rez here. Today I want to talk about something that was brought to my attention recently. Why don't my videos contain a lot of trigger/content warnings, or at least detailed ones? I make a lot of dark content with a lot of graphic, disturbing, and harsh imagery, especially in the last year. Videos like A Reason, Hurt, This Is Not the Land of the Living, The Will of the Masses. These videos do not contain detailed content warnings. A Reason does now though. My music also does not contain any content warnings. There's no warning for emergence. No warning for that goddamn dog. And no warning for hit me. So, what's the deal? I'm supposed to be a welcoming place for mental health, yet my work contains little to no content warnings. What gives? Well, first off, let me quell any fears you might have about my opinions on content warnings. I think content warnings are fine. I think they're a safe measure for people who have a difficult time with certain subjects. I myself have only ever needed them once that I can recall, but I understand people who need those warnings. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, these are all very difficult mental illnesses to battle. Having your day ruined because you saw someone talk about suicide in a graphic way that you weren't prepared for sucks. I certainly needed a content warning for Fire Walk With Me, but I suppose you roll the dice with David Lynch now, don't you? So I'm fine with content warnings existing, and I actually do try to use them for my art that is not moving or speaking. I mark my darker and more graphic work as mature on DeviantArt to the best of my ability, and I try to tag my really dark stuff on Tumblr sometimes, or just hide it under a read more cut. So, why not my videos or music? Because my work kind of depends on the shock value sometimes. Starting in 2021, I started really leaning into shock value. People have been ignoring my depression for years because I've been too subtle and quiet about it. Now I stick a gun to my head and say, watch this. It wakes people up to what's going on in my head. I've certainly noticed the difference with being more direct about my depression and suicidal ideation. I want people to finally stop ignoring me when I'm depressed and pay attention, which I know some of you might be thinking, okay, Rez, that's fine and all, but can you please warn me ahead of time before you blow your brains out? And my answer to that question is no. Certain aspects of my work require you to be shocked at what you're seeing, hearing, and experiencing to fully understand the message. If I warn you ahead of time, this video contains me screaming for a full minute, you won't truly be horrified by Harvest. A better example as to why I can't warn you actually is Rez's Office, my album. The entire album builds to that goddamn dog. You hear the dog barking in a few other tracks before you get to track 7.
Reminder.
In track 7, you hear that same dog you've been hearing throughout the album. And then the dog gets shot. It's sudden, seems completely unnecessary, and it is horrifying. That dog didn't need to die, so why did it? And with that, I hope you can see what I mean. If I warned you ahead of time that the dog does indeed die in Rez's office, then I feel the true impact as to why the dog gets shot will not be felt. You won't feel the melancholy of the wolf howling at the end. You won't feel the sadness in String. You won't feel the initial tension of hearing that dog bark a lot while a low hum plays in the background like something is off. I can't build a mood and scene like that if I warn you ahead of time what happens. Basically, depending on the content, I view content warnings as a spoiler warning. I'm fairly notorious about not spoiling my work. PMK, the former co-writer of Orinthius' Revenge, my Machinima series, did not know the secret twist ending of Orinthius' Revenge. That's how careful I am about not spoiling my work. To give a content warning that directly talks about what happens in my work takes away the impact that it can achieve. Let's take A Reason, for example.
I was being reasonable until I started lashing out because I felt trapped!
I didn't put a content warning on this video because at the time I didn't think it was that bad. I had been quote-unquote publicly suicidal before, so I thought this time was no different. The video got a very strong reaction from the Smash Machinima community. I was told that a lot of people were very scared I was about to commit suicide after watching it. Was this reaction intentional? Absolutely not. Did it get this reaction because it didn't have a content warning? Hard to say, but I do wonder if the video would have been passed over with a content warning. Not saying that I wanted the strong reaction that it got, but it was certainly needed with how bad my mental health was around that time. Another example with less real-life trauma around it is Hurt. Hurt has zero content warning. There's nothing in the title, there's nothing in the description. At the end of the video, a character that represents me is seen with a gun to her chin, and the next shot is blood splattering on the wall from a gunshot. And that's pretty fucking extreme, and there's no warning for it. Much like the song used in the video, I feel like the impact of that moment is taken away by a content warning. The song Hurt doesn't have one either, and when you first hear it, you are shocked and scared by that sudden loud guitar at the end, and that's the point. The narrator just shot himself. It's supposed to be loud and sudden. That's the point. However, I'm not all, "It's gonna spoil my videos" all the time. A Reason's first sequel, Stay, had a content warning because it starts off with, frankly, the darkest thing I've ever made. The Disaster Archives has a content warning for the entire playlist. Aragon also had a content warning because it depicts domestic violence. Harvest at least has a loud noise warning, and This Is Not the Land of the Living has 2 subtle content warnings. The thumbnail is Sosasuru staring at you, which is supposed to be a warning that this video is very dark and has creepy imagery, and I have been told that that has actually worked and people have not decided to watch the video because of the thumbnail, which that was the point. The second is that it's marked 18+ for its graphic imagery. But all of those warnings are vague in the title, and they may be detailed in the description, or they may not be. It kind of depends on the video, and the type of content within the video depends on whether or not I will warn you in advance. If the content is meant to be sudden and shock you, there won't be a warning. Or the warning might be subtle, like This Is Not the Land of the Living, and to that extent Pepper, where there's blood in the thumbnail. Sometimes I might not put a warning on a video because it's vent, so I just don't, like Hurt, Bleed, and A Reason. But I do at least try to go back and fix that if I can. But if I do put a content warning on the video, it's usually because that's the entirety of the video, like Aragon. The entirety of that video is domestic violence. There's nothing shocking about it. That's just what it is. And so that's why there's a warning for it, because it doesn't just suddenly sneak up on you. That's the video. Look, the short version of all of this is simply this. I'm not against content warnings, and I do try to use them where I see fit. However, I don't like using them if they may spoil the whole impact of my work. I make horror. I make psychological art that wants you to feel the same way I do. If you're not comfortable with trying to figure out which video is safe and which one isn't, then it's probably best that you don't watch my darker content. If you can't handle suicidal imagery, try and stay away from my darker stuff. I won't put it past you if you do. I do notice that a lot of my darker, ventier stuff does not get a lot of views, and frankly, I'm pretty okay with that. I will at least try from now on to label my videos a bit more clearly so that maybe you can tell the difference and avoid the stuff that you might not be okay with. I'm not out here to try and cause someone to have a PTSD flashback because they watched my content. I don't want that on anyone. I just don't want my own depression to be looked over and ignored anymore. And if that means I can't fully warn you about what's about to happen for you to truly experience it and all of my intentions, then that's what I'll do. If that's not your thing, then I don't blame you. Depression is hard. It's a nasty little monster that won't go away, and my art is how I cope. Sometimes it's not pretty, and I don't blame anyone for being unable to see it. But for those who do stick around to see it, I thank you a lot. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in. I hope this cleared up any possible confusions that might have existed out there. Oh, and one more thing before we go. I try really, really hard to avoid jump scares. I do not like them. I think they're very cheap. And I'm not about to use them cheaply in my videos, so you don't have to worry about that, but there may come a time where it might happen. But you just don't know.